وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى.
Make the most of this series by downloading our free workbook for a guided contemplation of this powerful surah.
In the study of Islam, we make assumptions. And when you question the assumption, who are you to question the assumption? Are you as good as them? Are you as good as this person? No, I'm not, but it's still an assumption. It's an assumption from a really good person. It's still an assumption. إِنْ يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ. Allah has given us a religion that is revolutionary. No part of this deen can be based on what? Assumptions. None of it. It has to be rooted. أَصْلُهَا ثَابِتٌ وَفَرْعُهَا فِي السَّمَاءِ. Its roots are firm and its branches into the sky. This is a profound religion. It doesn't just go off of feelings. إِنْ يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ وَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. And by the way, the idea of mudari', I said the mudari' form of the ayah, meaning this following of assumptions will remain a problem for humanity until Judgment Day. This will be a god. Assumptions will be a false idol that the Quran will continue to keep breaking, and the people of the Quran will continue to keep breaking until Judgment Day. It will keep going. And then he says, وَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. Assumptions cannot help you against truth at all. Let me tell you how assumptions work in our times. Give you an example or two. You see, for example, let's talk about something people get fired up about. Let's talk about police brutality, right? You'll see a video, a police officer beat up somebody. Oh my God, I hate police brutality. Now, then you see another video where a police officer is grabbing somebody. Before you know the entire story, what are you going to scream immediately? Police brutality. You don't know if the guy pulled a knife, tried to kill the police officer. You don't know what else, if he fired a gun. You don't know if he beat a child. You don't know anything. You just know this one clip where a police officer is grabbing a guy and he's doing this. Now, it could be police brutality and it could be a legitimate case. I don't know enough to be able to pass judgment because I have one bit of information, not the entire picture. But you know what that's called when you have one bit of information and you assume the rest? It's called dhann. وَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. Dhann, that assumption based on little information, cannot free you from the truth itself. It cannot help you against the reality of the situation. Now, let's not talk about police brutality. Let's talk about our religion itself for a moment. I'll give you one example. Famous story, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq in a narration told his son to divorce his wife. Abu Bakr told his son to divorce his wife. I was in a halaqah one time and the sheikh that was describing this story said, this is the right of the parents. Even if the parents told you to do what? Divorce your wife, you should what? Divorce your wife. I'm like, oh? What? What did you just say, bro? Sheikh, bro? Hold on a second. So let me ask some questions. Marriage between two people. Can you just know about somebody's marriage? You know everything about that marriage, everything about that relationship? No. Is every marriage the same? No. Is the relationship between husband and wife purely spiritual, purely economic, purely emotional, purely familial? Or is it a mix of a lot of things? It's a mix of a lot of things. And if a marriage isn't working, could there be one reason? Could there be one simple reason? Could be a lot of complicated reasons? Or is it usually just one straightforward reason? It's a huge complicated reason. It's a big complicated history. It's not a simple thing. The story says Abu Bakr Siddiq told his son to divorce his wife. How much information do you have? It's like, like a keyhole. Looking inside a keyhole, how much of the room do you see? You see this much? And you say, I'm going to tell you all the furniture in that room and tell you everything in the closet. Stupid. You don't know anything. You have this. Everything else you're saying is what? One. Now, without knowing the rest of the situation, for you to say, therefore, when a parent says, Abu Bakr Siddiq barely says anything, man. Like, study Bukhari and Muslim, and you'll find single digits in a hadith coming from Abu Bakr. So when he speaks, we get very little from him. So the one thing we know from him, if he did tell his son to divorce his wife, we don't know if he told him or allowed him. We don't know how many times his son came to him and says, "Dad, I can't do this anymore. I don't know, it's not working." How many times he told him, "Stay in the marriage, stay in the," and one day he told him divorce. We don't know anything. We know nothing. We know one data point, two data. And what do we do with these stories in our history? What do we create? An entire set of assumptions. And then we present them as facts. وَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. You can say, oh, other religions do this. I've been trying to study Islam for 23 years now, and I'm still a student. I'm not a sheikh at all. Milk sheikh at best. But like, yeah, somebody got that. Okay, I'm happy now. Somebody's like, okay. Well, I tell you one thing, there's a lot of assumption. And there are hum darajatun inda Allah. There's levels of scholarship. There's people that are like, they know like 8th grade level Islamic studies, but because they are in a community where everybody else is a kindergartner, they look like Shaykhul Islam. So then they talk about stuff like what I just told you, and everybody says, MashaAllah, oh, the story increased my iman. I'm going home because my mother told me to divorce my wife, and I'm going to follow the legacy of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. Because you got 8th grade and the deaf leading the blind. And then you get a level above that, and you get scholars, like real scholars. And Allah has opened doors for me that I don't even know. I can't even explain how He opened those doors for me. I get to meet some of the world's most incredible scholars. And let me tell you, the more scholarly they are, the less they talk. You don't see them on YouTube. You barely see them. And if you do see them, they have like 80 views on their video. Because their brain operates at a frequency that the rest of it are like, that wasn't fun. That wasn't interesting. That wasn't entertaining. So when I talk to them, I get a very different picture of Islam. About the same stories I've been hearing in a khutbah since I was a kid, and I listen to them and I'm like, what is this? You know why? Because of this ayah. وَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. Haqq is haqq. And we have to be brave enough to face it. You have to confront it. And we have to break the world of assumption within even our own. Ask questions, seek answers, seek conviction. Don't be afraid of questions. And there's the vast majority of the human population lives in South Asia. The vast majority. South Asia and Southeast Asia. If you draw a 3,000-mile circle, 75% of the human population lives there. And the most shirk happens there too. And the majority of Muslims live there too. Indonesia is in that part of the world. Bangladesh, Pakistan, the Muslims in India. Those are huge populations of Muslims. And you go to a place like Pakistan, one of the most common things Muslims in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh will tell you is, don't read the Quran. You'll get misguided. Keep dhann. Don't go to haqq. وَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. I need you to know as I leave, haqq means 3 things. At least for the purpose of this ayah. Haqq, you need to know, means 3 things. Haqq means reality. So assumptions cannot change reality. They will not free you from the need to face reality. Haqq also means truth. And haqq also means purpose. You know what that means? People of assumption can never fulfill a purpose. If you're living in assumptions, you can't live with purpose. Because in al-dhann, la yughni min al-haqqi shay'a. Haqq in Arabic actually has one more meaning that's not relevant to this ayah, but you should know, it means right also. Like haqqun lis-sa'ili wal-mahrum, right? Haqqul walidain, the rights of someone. But truth, reality, and purpose are all fused together in the word haqq. And I need you to know that because Allah is saying, you develop these religions that have no truth, they have no reality, and they have no purpose. And the Quran is the truth, and it's describing reality as it is, and it's giving your life and my life a purpose. All 3 things fuse with وَإِنَّ الظَّنَّ لَا يُغْنِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ شَيْئًا. Alhamdulillah, we've reached the conclusion of today's session. Before I leave you, I will give you just one quick lens. Bear with me. We didn't get to talk about the lenses of contemplating the Quran. The booklet has been with you. It's only been used as a passport so far. So I'm going to give you just one lens today, and we'll talk about more later. So it says lens of language. One of the lenses it says is the lens of language. I don't have to talk about that one because I've given you a really good taste of the lens of language so far in Surah An-Najm. Every word, the grammatical implications, what's the min doing here? What are the secondary meanings? Those are all the lens of what? Language. And that's why language will open up doors for tadabbur. And if you don't have access to that on the last day, even if you don't know Arabic, I'll start giving you tools that you can access some of these lenses yourself. Okay? But the second quick lens I want to give you is the world of the Quran. The lens called the world of the Quran. And what does that mean? When Allah was talking about Yusuf alayhi salam in ancient Egypt, you know what Sheikh Suhaib Saeed, my dear friend, he and I are partners in crime when we study Quran. There's a few others. But when we study Quran, and we were studying Surah Yusuf, we literally imagined that we lived in ancient Egypt. What did it look like? What was the marketplace like? What were the women like? These women that were, talking about, Yusuf alayhi salam. What was that party like? What were the drinks like? What were the servants like? What was this environment? I want to place myself in that environment as much as possible. So to understand Surah Yusuf, we actually started looking at the history of Egypt and what life was like and their sociology. Because if Allah is talking about a world, I want to go inside that world.